Don't all speak at once. Are we on? Are we all good? Righto. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Urban Development and Transport Subcommittee or Committee as a whole meeting. I'd just like to ask Jimmy Chen, who has volunteered as soon as he walked in the door, to do the karakia this morning.
Okay, thank you. My pleasure. Yeah. Actually, not volunteer, request by chair. Okay. Opening karakia. Fakataka te hao ki te uru. Fakataka te hao ki te tanga. Kia ma kina ki uta. Kia ma tana ki tai. Ehi ake ana te akakura. He tio, he huka, he hahu. Ki he mauriora. Kia wa.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Thank you. Apologies. I've got apologies for maybe James if the meeting goes on too late.
No, it's at 12:30. It's not possible.
Councillor McKellen Jake for lateness and Andrew for partial absence, and we've got Leanne joining us on Zoom.
Not currently on.
Soon. Okay. Declarations of interest. From what I'm told, there is none. Does anyone think they have any? Please let me know. Or if halfway through the meeting you think.
A mover and a seconder for the apologies.
And yes. And a mover and a seconder for the apologies before I get too carried away. Thank you, James. Thank you, Jimmy. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't want any lip from the cheap seats. Okay. So we're all good. No? Declarations of interest. I have none. Has anyone got any or think they have? But if you think halfway through that you have, please let me know. Confirmation of the previous minutes. I assume everyone's read those. And anyone got any questions? Sam's happy to move, and Pauline on the right is happy to second. Public forum. There are no public forum presentations. Deputations by appointment. There are no deputations by appointment, and their presentations of petitions. There are none of those. So we move straight on to item 7.
We're going to put the minutes to a vote.
I knew that. That's just after we put the minutes to a vote. Is everyone in favour of the minutes that Sam moved and Pauline seconded? Everyone in favour of those? Say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, so now we're moving. Thank you, Andrew. Now we're moving down to item 7, Heathcote Expressway Major Cycle Road. And Lynette's going to come up and give us a wee chit-chat about that. Thank you, Lynette.
Kia ora koutou. I'd like to introduce Donald Hanrahan. He's the project manager for this project and this report and the next report. So I think we'll take the report as read, unless you've got a brief intro that you want to do. This one is the Cumnor Terrace one way.
Yeah, so look, we went out to consult on Cumnor Terrace whether to keep it as two-way or make it one-way. The advantage of one-way was that it kept the footpath on the other side of the road. So recommendations are we keep it two-way. We're also looking to go out and consult on making it 40k in the area. Has significant safety improvements if we make it 40k, and there was quite a bit of support from the public when we were consulting on it. Yeah, is there any questions?
Pauline?
Thank you. I'm not sure if it's in the report, I might have missed it, but why would we not want to go to 30k?
30k is generally kept for more urban environments, more kind of city centre where you have a lot of kind of people movements. It's not really suitable for 30k in an industrial area.
And there's actually in the transport report we've got a article about speed limits, and Stephen's here, so maybe we talk about the advantages and disadvantages of 30 or 40 and the places that we can do them in that item, if that's all right with the council and the chair.
So it was considered but discounted as not appropriate for the area.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you. I just wanted to just have a quick check on Truscott's Road, actually, just making sure that, because the design's all great and approved already, though the end bit has changed to go across Martindale's. Because it's greenway, and in some greenways we don't resurface the road. So some of the stuff on Rapanui Shagrok, it's pretty grotty road condition still, even though it's neighbourhood greenway. Truscott's Road is in really poor condition.
Yeah.
Do you know if it's going to be resurfaced?
As part of our job, we're incorporating some through waters work, which means there's a new water main going down there as well. So yes, it will be.
Oh, excellent.
So we're incorporating that. So it'll all be dug up as part of that. So.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. And the potential gateway treatment on the very bottom of Station Road at the start of the cycleway. I'm kind of hoping that will become a bit of a trend, and it looks like there's some sort of cycleway signage planned. Is that the type of thing that might go in there?
Yeah.
We saw the other day.
Yeah. Cool. That's something we'll look at.
That's great. Thank you.
Anybody else with any questions? Yanni?
Thank you. I'm just trying to understand how we got to so far along this process in terms of design without talking to the fire service to inform what we were putting out. Because I think the really concerning thing in this report is the fire service saying that they had serious concerns about the design and access for emergency services. So I'm just trying to understand why that's not picked up before we put this out for consultation.
We consult with them. Their comments on their concerns were related to making Cumnor Terrace one way and the access problems they'd have with it being one way. They've no problem with the actual cycleway or when it was first proposed as a two-way road down Cumnor Terrace.
Sorry, but before we went out with the one-way option, have we not had feedback from the fire service that it wasn't a good design for them for emergency services? Like, why doesn't that get picked up in the redesign for the one-way?
So at the time that the scheme was approved in 2017, the donor wasn't actually here then, so that this is me dredging up the memory bank, so I apologise. At the time that was approved, there was feedback from the community that they wanted to retain the footpath on the business side of the road. The only way that we could make that design happen was to incorporate a one-way system, and the committee at the time asked us to go out and consult on the possibility of a one-way. We have done that and talked to the fire service along the way. So one of the objectives is the fire service and saying that the one-way system isn't ideal for them for access. So that's part of the process.
Yeah, and just I just wonder whether in our design process we need to just really have the emergency services right at the start of the process.
We do.
We did in the original consultation.
We do, and we did on this.
Right.
And they knew that the consultation was coming out to go to a one-way, and we knew that there was a level that they were uncomfortable with.
Right, okay. Just two other questions I had, and I just want to thank staff for sending out the letter to the submitters again. Obviously, this project has been delayed quite a few times through the process with COVID, so, thank you for making people aware. Just was really interested in if you could just give us a high-level summary of what the ecological assessment you've done. Obviously, this has been close to the river.
Yeah.
And then the second question, sort of related to that, is around the tree removals and how that fits with our new tree policy. What's the value of the trees that are being removed, and how will that be compensated in terms of any planting, or did we think about something different given that we adopted the tree policy between when this went out for consultation and when it's come back to us? Thank you.
So around the ecology, we've had the City Council herpetologist go out and do a lizard survey, found lizards in the area, and we've got our DOC permits in place for capture and relocation of lizards. We've had an external ecologist look at the river, and we've also had so they were looking more at fish and the river life, and we've also been involving Andrew Crossland, the council ecologist, with bird life and lighting through the area. So they've all been involved in it from the start and the route, and they've also all been heavily involved with the planting we're doing to make sure it provides lizard habitat and suitable river habitat. regarding the tree removal, we do have to remove a couple of big trees, and we have permission to remove 2 of them. One of those has already been removed, I presume by Parks, because it is unsafe. We've had a recent arborist report back which says because one of them has been removed and we're removing the other, the likelihood is that all of them will have to be removed. But we are doing significant planting down there. Along the river, we're doing some significant planting down, infill planting on the area where we were looking to potentially put it one way. So that's about 600 metres of significant planting down there. And also we're doing about roughly, I think it's over 2,000 square metres of planting on bare land at the moment, just creating lizard habitat. So it'll be a mixture of trees and other things. So even though this was approved well before the new council tree policy, I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but we do plant significantly more trees than we remove, well above what the new tree policy asks for.
Right, but it'll take quite a few years to offset the carbon loss from these mature trees.
Yeah, it will, but we are planting. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but it is significantly more than a 2 for 1, and we are planting natives. Those trees aren't natives, and we're also planting lizard habitat and lizard friendly trees, plants.
All good, Yanni?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to welcome Leanne, who's joined us on Zoom. Morning. We're up to item 7, Leanne. Right. I've got any other questions? I've got a couple for Lynette. No. Lynette, with the road more or less getting shifted sideways by a metre and a half, perhaps, or a metre, are we going to reconstruct the whole road? I'm just talking the one-way, the one-way bit, the Canal Terrace bit.
Which is staying 2-way.
So we're keeping
We're
it
proposing to keep it 2-way.
We will be reconstructing a significant portion of it because we have to remove the footpath on the other side, but it won't be a full reconstruction. But we are talking to the business, like we will do as much as we need to.
Yeah, okay. And are we thinking of, because the river does tend to flood that a little bit when it's extremely high tide, if we did reconstruct the road, because we're practically doing both sides of it, and a bit of the middle it'll be a bit knackered, should we look at raising maybe the 2 curbs up or something 100 mil and redoing the road, because then it won't be impacted by flooding so much in the future while we've got the opportunity?
Yeah, we wouldn't get consent. We're not planning on doing that now. We wouldn't get consent for raising the road because you just push the flooding issues into other areas and potentially private property.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you very much. What else we got? I think it's good to note that all the submissions that came through for one-way versus two-way, 104 people submitted that they'd like to keep it as two-way, and 40 said one-way was okay. We've listened to the people that have submitted to us, and we're keeping it two-way. It will be slightly narrower, but that's not the end of the world. And the trucks, or there is a lot of trucks down there because it's a very busy area, but it's important that people can get both ways. And I read the report that especially resource recycling need to have trucks arriving at their weighbridge pointing in the right direction, otherwise it's actually a bloody nightmare. Yeah. So I think the common sense result has come here. So I'm happy to move this if anyone has got any. And Sarah is seconding.
I was just hoping that we moved the community board recommendation with the staff's recommended number 2.
Yep, we can. Yes. So we've got any discussion? All those in favour?
All right.
Against? Carried, thank you. So which ones we're doing here, mate? Yes, Tim.
While everyone's here, I just wanted to do a quick thank you to the next team, Steve and Tony. We had a car go through a barrier at the bottom of Dice Pass Road the other week and into people's homes, and they were really nervous. Steve and Tony got onto it, and they put the barrier as it was back really quickly, and the residents are so thankful for that, how quickly it got, so thank you. And they are working on an engineering solution to strengthen it. So on behalf of the community board, I just thought, just thank the team while we're live streaming, and so cheers.
Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody happy? Thank you, Andrew. See you later. We're on to item 8. Right, now this here is, first for a start, are you going to talk to about it?
I was just going to say this is the same piece of cycleway. However, this is the detailed traffic resolutions that align with the report that's just been approved to ensure that the lines and signs and markings are all legal and can be enforced.
Okay.
Really, all it is.
Mike has kindly is happy to move, and Tim is happy to second. And as we'll know, really it's just saying where lines go, yellow lines, whatever lines.
Yep.
It's just making everyone safe and doing stuff. So is there any debate? Right. Oh, Yanni, please.
Question, is there a specific resolution around the trees? And to remove the trees, or is that just delegated to staff?
That was done.
No, that was done in the original scheme, was it? To approve the removal of trees?
Okay. Well, that's cool.
So the tree removals have already been approved in the previous
Just
report.
wanted to clarify.
I think trees are sorted out, and we're planting one hell of a lot more of them
Yep.
up around the corner to make a small forest to compensate for the.
No, that's good. Yeah, and I just wanted to speak to this at the appropriate time.
Okay, sorry, you.
When it's time for debate, just wanted to say a few words.
Debate. Right. We're in the debate department now. Yanni, do you want to say?
Thank you. Look, I just wanted to, commend staff for the work that they've done to come up with the redesign. I think this is a much better solution. If you read the comments, I think obviously there's a lot of changes to the roading network. If we were going to one way, that would have an impact on all the other streets, and there are some really serious traffic safety issues in the area. So I think these restrictions that we're putting in and these changes hopefully will, I think, get the best of both worlds. It will improve traffic safety and pedestrian and cyclist safety, and it will be a positive thing for this area. I do have to point out, though, the irony of us having to spend our money doing this is that when the Kenaway Farms went through its private plan change, or its plan change through council, part of the requirement was that they had to put in a pedestrian and cycle pathway along the stretch due to the huge increase in heavy traffic that was going to occur from their development. Unfortunately, with time, they were able to get out of that requirement to have to do that themselves, and now we're having to do it as a city, which is kind of frustrating. This should have been done a long time ago. It makes, I think, a lot of sense to have the cycleway in this area, and I think that these resolutions do, as I said, they deal with a very difficult area in terms of industry and recreational use, but I think they do get the best possible outcome that we can get within the constraints of this section, so I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to have any debate? Righto, I'd like to put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. And against? Thank you, carried. So we are now up to item 9, which is Lynette's newly formatted transport report, which I must say is a lot easier for people like me to understand.
Monthly report was. It did get very long, and we were also starting to replicate information that you were getting in the finance and performance meeting. So what we've tried to do is take a step back and say, why are we doing the things that we do, and help you have more information about, and the community have more information about why we do things like the safe speed zones, why we're doing some of our capital projects and what we're trying to achieve with them. So we've this month taken a look at High Street. We were very aware that we've gone through the design process, but we haven't come back with the absolute detail of the cultural narrative that we're trying to talk to down there, being a mahunga kai, being a pathway to the sea, and Lindsay's here to talk through a little bit of that if you want that. I also wanted us to talk today about how we're going on Marston Bridge, and the intersection upgrade, and remind everyone of what we were achieving out there, including the the area of ecological significance that we had out there, talking to safe speed zones. And there's a bit of an update in there, which is a little bit more industrial, if you like, on the craft project. It's exactly where we're at with all the craft projects, and as requested, a list and update on where we're at of all the safety projects that are being delivered under craft. And there's a very brief update at the end about Coastal Pathway, but we can do more on Coastal Pathway in the future. My goal is to actually have these coming through as smaller reports more often, so maybe we hit the table once a month with 4 or 5 of these topics in the report each month. Sound like a plan?
Yep.
I'm really keen to get your feedback as well, and if there's topics that are coming at you that you want us to give you an update on, then we can get that into the next report. So that's what we're really keen to do.
So thank you, Lynette. And it's certainly, as I said, it's a lot easier for me to follow, and look forward to more of them coming up. Have we got any questions, Tim?
Yeah, I guess it's not so much a question. It's just that in communities, the safe speed zones are really important and very highlighted, especially in those middle communities that are being sandwiched between infilling, etc. So, and I know, so that would be a real highlight to just keep up, because it's great that we've kind of got a through NZTR we were able to have more movement on that. So that's really important. Thank you.
Pauline?
Yeah, thanks, Lynette. Just looking at the High Street works there around the Sodvesi High Street, Churum, Poplar Lane area.
Yes.
Yeah, they're changing all the signals.
It's the bit that's underway at the moment.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's going to look really lovely. So that's not going to have to be dug up again if there needs to be another substation put in anywhere, a power station?
No. The amount of traffic lights was really for when the tram was planned to go down the bottom section of High Street, and now that's not the case. Those lights are not needed. So although the substation hasn't obviously been decided on or what is required, that will come out of the power study we're about to start with the tram company. It won't affect the traffic signals on Churum.
Right, just so you're aware that we're not going to have to dig up the paving to accommodate that at all.
No.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Jimmy? And Yanni?
Regarding to the 126 project, whether it's currently under the long-term plan 2021 to 2024, but in a yearly basis, for instance, like this annual plan, or maybe the community board or the council have think in some area location need to improve, those safety issue, access and the environment, etc., whether still can be possible amendment or not.
Amendment to the projects? That's happening. No, that 120. Yeah, but the 100. We've got 126 projects active right at the moment.
Yes.
Yes.
But still will be
There's more coming on next year, and there'll be Doesn't mean we've got 100 next year.
Yes.
No, we could have 150 next year. I haven't looked at the number.
Okay.
So yes, it's just an indication of how much we've got going on, and how much we're working to complete this year.
Yes.
We are hoping that some of the other 100 might go a bit faster than we expected and finish earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Just on top of that, we are going around all the boards as well, and just presenting to them what projects we've got in that area this year, and that's also an opportunity for the board to feed back to us on what we're doing in those areas.
And 140 million, let's all secure the budget in our long-term plan.
That's what you've approved in our long-term plan. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Yanni, please.
Yeah, thank you. I was just trying to just on page 152, looking at the public transport network improvements concept development. This is a draft program for public transport improvements that's been developed by elected members for their comment in December. The PTV Futures business case has been endorsed by Waka Kotahi Board.
Yep.
When, like, I'm just trying to understand, like, we've got projects in that future PT business case.
Yes.
So are we just getting those projects coming back to us, or are there new projects that are being considered that will then be asked for input into? And where does the Central City Shuttle fit into that? Thank you.
So the PT projects on page 52 relate to CREF, and 152 relate to the CREF program of works. The CREF investment case specifically states that we need to select a number of projects from the PT Futures business case for implementation using CREF funding. My understanding is the Central City Shuttle doesn't feature in the PT Futures business case. So they don't tie together. They're different projects. So yes, you will get a list of projects as identified from the PT Futures business case that's been endorsed both by you and the Waka Kotahi board. And that will be, and we will be putting them in a prioritisation list, and that's the conversation we're having. This is how we're prioritising, this is what we think we can do. Here's the other ones, what do you think?
Why do we have such a delayed process? Like, isn't Waka Kotahi going to fund the PT Futures business case things that we put forward? Like, we've agreed to the funding through our LTP.
I think you're muddling processes, Councillor, I'm sorry. The CREF process has $5 million ring fenced for PT projects.
And I get that, but what I'm trying to understand is why do we have to wait for the PT Futures business case to get on and do some of those projects? And why do we have to only select the projects that are in that business case?
Because as I said before, the investment case from Treasury that puts the rules around how we can spend the CREF money says we need to select projects that have been identified as part of the PT Futures business case. That was endorsed not that long ago, a couple of months ago, by the Waka Kotahi board. Now we are looking to get you the list because you've asked for some governance oversight of what that list is before we go ahead and do it.
Right. Okay. And do we... there'll be projects in that business case that have been approved by Waka Kotahi that are funded through them? Or are there just a whole bunch of projects that are unfunded in our business case?
A business case is just a list of projects. The delivery bodies are different. We're the delivery body. We've still got to have it on our program. We've still got to agree it. We've got to have our local share of funding. They're not... Right. Then, unless it's on a state highway, then it's not 100% funded by Waka Kotahi.
So this is basically funding to deal with existing projects rather than new projects that are unfunded.
I'm sorry, Councillor, you've got me very confused. I don't know
this money? What so this isn't like new money, additional for new projects. This is basically a budget to pay for existing projects that are currently unfunded.
So the $5 million in the CREF funding is Crown funding that we got provided and is sitting in our bank waiting to be spent.
You know, I get that, but the projects that are in the business case that are there's a number of projects that are unfunded that we can apply this to. Is that basically the gist of it?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we got very roughly speaking,
we have to use CREF money for PT Futures.
Yes, that's right. And
we have to.
We got given $40 million, which we divided up amongst 5 different areas of
5 areas, safety and PT.
Yeah, and 5 different physical areas as well.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased to read that Marine Trade and Balfour Road are on the list. And sorry, Yanni, I'm butting in here. I see you've done the strength of those streets. Is it looking half good, or
I don't
it's
know
being
the
analysed
details,
at the moment?
Yeah.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Have you got any? Sorry, Yanni, I butted in. Have you got any?
Just the one project that I mean, if you can't answer today, that's fine. But just the PT work at Eastgate, is that being complete? Is there any high level comment you can just make on the progress of that?
I believe that update was put through last week. It's on the watch list, so update will be in the finance and performance from last week.
Okay, all good. I've got a couple. I'd just like to say I got a start work notice sent to me the other day on that new bus. I wouldn't say the word exchange bus stop at the Palms.
Super stop.
It's underway.
Yes.
That's going to be good and solve a hell of a lot of issues there. Yeah. Just one question of your two questions of report, Lynette. Marshlands Bridge, is that sort of on time and on budget? You haven't had any big things thrown at you?
It's ahead of time, isn't it? Adrian, come down.
Yeah, no, it is after a rocky start.
Come up here.
Good morning.
So this is Adrian. He's the project manager.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. Yep, it is. We did have a rocky start, but I'm happy to report that we're currently month 10 of 18 on site. Our early target to complete this side of Christmas due to COVID and a little bit of wet weather is now unlikely, but we are on track to switch the new traffic lights on probably about late January, early February. So as a matter of background, we've got the project entails a bridge widening from 8 to 18 metres, and we are signalising the intersection of Lower Sticks, Marshtons and Hawkins Road. So that's from a project progress perspective, we are on track. There's no long lead items. All the signal poles and light poles, for argument's sake, that's potentially could be about 3 odd months, are already on site. So we are tracking on time and on program.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just if we go back to the theme of why, remember Marshland Bridge is being widened to improve the traffic flow down there. But the intersection at Lower Sticks Hawkins was one of the worst we had in the city. We had to put some really severe restrictions and turning movements in there to make it a little bit safer for everybody, and it still wasn't. It was pretty awful. And of course we had the drain, which is now to the side of the site, which is now an area of ecological significance with the lamprey spawning site. So it is a pretty neat project actually, and it's also through a culturally significant area. So yeah, it just had everything going for it.
Okay. Anne, what would you like to say?
Thank you for the intention to actually make this simpler for information to come to us, and obviously it's a challenge in lots of ways, but I guess the questions are, who do you want the information to get to, what do you want to say, and why do you want to say it? I think are really the key question. So I appreciate very much the sentiment behind that. I'm just wondering too if that will transfer into the way we actually communicate this information to our residents as well.
That is part of my goal, is that this information can be picked up after this meeting has accepted the report and uploaded to the project sites as an update for each of these projects or general transport updates. So it's then used more and more and more, and our information on our websites is getting updated and refreshed reasonably regularly as well.
Great, and that includes Smart View. Is that kind of the information that goes to them as well?
I'll have to look into that.
We were just actually looking at that this morning, and it is such a fantastic resource that many people don't know about, but that is the kind of information that would be very good for people to be able to access through that as well. So, okay, more of a debate than question.
Right.
Thank you. Aaron?
Yeah, just a quick one on the Marshlands Road Bridge. So that was years ago, I'm guessing 5, and it was about to start, and then suddenly they found the lamprey spawning site, so it got put off. It was sold to us that lamprey spawning site was incredibly significant, that they're rare. It turns out, once I go and have a look, lampreys are everywhere, including in the Avon and all sorts of places. So why did we... And they'd moved into a box drain, which is not naturally occurring.
Lampreys are everywhere, but they don't spawn everywhere. And that was the spawning site that's unique. And Doc advised us that it was... Niwa advised us it was one of 2?
One or 2 spawning sites in Christchurch. And pretty unique to this site is the Canal Reserve drain.
wasn't at the time.
It's a spring fed water drain, so you got very clean water,
Right.
and you got a very sandy silts behind the box drain, which naturally it's a safe haven for them to spawn. So it's a little bit unique in the reserve canal drain, where you have a combination of ecological environmental factors that lend itself to the spawning site. And part of NIWA study is they've been tagging all the mature fish swimming up before they spawn, and they've been getting a lot of rich data from that in terms of understanding why they're chosen that site. And I think that informs NIWA and Doc about the threatened species of the lamprey.
Yeah, because I think I saw something that they're following 100 fish's journey and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So which will be interesting. But so in hindsight, it was the right thing to do.
100%.
Still, you're not kind of going.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. More than 100%. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely,
don't know
it was the right thing to do.
lampreys that well, but why are they in other waterways if they're not spawning? Because they are born somewhere,
There's
go to
different,
sea
there's
for
different
years.
species of lamprey as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the Australis one that's.
I'm not too sure, but very similar to like salmon and trouts. They follow the scent, so they release pheromones in the area and into the water, so they can travel back up the stream to essentially nest where their parents essentially nest. So
Yeah, they do release pheromones.
Impressive.
that's right. Things he lived on the project. And
That's why I asked him down, because that's way more than me.
Yeah, it's on the NIWA site. If anyone wants to
brilliant,
have a
yeah.
look.
yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Aaron. Mel, would you like to have something to say?
With the craft projects, like obviously there's a huge amount of other detail behind them, like including. So how can one question is how can the public see that? Because people have been asking about having 40k streets, and I can say, well, actually they're coming, that kind of thing. And then the other question is related to whoever said it before about the 30 versus 40. So you may as well. It would be good to explain that.
I'll do the craft one first, and then you can do the 30 versus 40 because that's your space. The craft one, yes, we're aware of that, and we're working hard right at the moment to try and get some outward-facing information that people can easily see where we're up to with everything. So we're working through with the comms team and the project managers working through with the comms team and others to try and get that up. It's just been a little bit delayed, so we apologise, but it is coming. And we are aiming to have it very easy to find, which is actually proving more difficult than we thought. Easy to see. 30 versus 40.
Just before the 30 versus 40 bit, what came out of the LTP was the decision to implement 5 slow speed neighbourhood areas a year. So we are cracking on with that. We're already underway with 3 this year, and there'll be another 2 coming to complete the 5. So there's consultation going out on a few of those at the moment. So we are working on that as part of the next 2 or 3 years as well. In that space, we're working on a city-wide speed management plan, and that's basically looking at all the speed limits across the city, and it's sort of taking the next step from what NZTA have already done with their Mega Maps tool. So their tool recommends safe and appropriate speeds, but their tool's quite high level, so we're taking that to the next level of detail, and that's something that we will share with yourselves once that piece of work is complete. Within that, it does specify where 30 or 40k limits should be, but there's a complicating factor is that the new setting of speed limits rule is due out any time. We're expecting it early in the new calendar year, and that will give a lot more guidance on that. With the rule as it sits at the moment, it doesn't give us much scope to put 30s in, or makes it quite difficult, whereas 40s are easier to put in, easier to install, and a lot more accepted by the community. That's not to say we can't do 30s, it's just more difficult at the moment, but we hope that's going to change. Obviously, from a safety point of view, we support slower speeds, and we support trying to get the speeds as low as possible.
And what we really wanted you all to have was that graphic on that page that shows you why we really support it. It's a fundamental tool in toolbox for, yeah.
Thank you, Mel. Pauline?
So actually that was going to be my point, that to congratulate you on that graphic on page 150, and it very succinctly explains the 1 kilometre increase of speed equals a 3% more likelihood of a crash, and also your connection between your human reaction time, the distance that it takes to implement that reaction, and the speed, and then the wet and the dry conditions. Yeah. It's a fantastic graphic, and I'm wondering, Mr. Chair, if any response has gone back to that petition that we had on the Marshland Road speed reduction, and if not, I think to include this graphic would be absolutely essential to explain the rationale of why a difference of 10 kilometres in speed would equal a 30% more chance of a crash and a higher percentage of a fatality. So can we follow that up to see if a response has gone and includes this if it hasn't?
Certainly.
Thanks. And thank you, Lynette. It's a great report.
Anne would like to talk again.
Question. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The 30k thing is interesting. We're at the moment looking at speeds along Horswell Road, for the Akaroa. Yeah. So we've got that road going past the school, Horswell School. So can you help us understand how that works in terms of what the government's going to require in terms of speeds outside of school, on the fact that it's going to be an NZTA road and it's a highway and all that stuff?
So that's a really good question, and there's a lot of uncertainty around that at the moment, where the new setting of speed limits rule is going to be pushing 30 k's outside schools, but we just don't know what form that's going to take, whether it's going to be for permanent speed limits or temporary speed limits during school hours and so on. That we haven't had any clarity around that yet, and we're still waiting for that. We did submit a submission on the draft rule, and we did support that. We are in a good position in terms of school safety funding, so we've got a healthy school safety budget, but we're holding back a little bit on that at the moment until the new rule comes out. So as soon as the new rule comes out, we can start spending to match the speed limits to whatever the rule says.
So today I've got organised a meeting on that through Akaroa and through Horswell. So what would be a good question to ask at that point, or is that something we should be considering as we look at that consultation?
I think
speed through there.
I think the question along the lines of what provisions are they proposing, and will those provisions allow for the future setting of speed limits rule, so you don't have to go back and change it in 6 months' time.
Yeah. That's good advice. Thank you.
Thank you. And before Mike's next, but I just want to say, just correct me if I'm wrong, Lynette, I went over to the Peninsula on the weekend, and we've introduced new speed limits around some of the the bays. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
I was surprised to see, and I must have misunderstood, driving out of Little River heading to Akaroa, which I know is a state highway, I thought one of the things we were going to do was move that 100 k's more towards Akaroa, so it's not just 20 metres before the exit of the reserve. But I was expecting to see that speed change when I went over there, but is that not one of ours?
So that's part of what's out for consultation as of today, I think, or yesterday.
Yes.
We're actually tying in with the roads NZTA are doing and trying to reduce the speed limits on our roads that meet the state highway, so that there's consistency. So we're working together with NZTA from a single consultation point of view to make sure our roads are going to tie in with theirs and all those speed limits are uniform.
So we're working on that particular.
Yep.
That particular.
Yep.
Okay.
But out through Cape Town, yeah.
While I've got the talking stick, as I said, Lynette, I was very happy to see Bohill Road and Marshlands Road and Marine Parade on there. Very roughly, if the strength of the road comes out looking good, would that be sealed this sealing season?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's great. And one
It's
other.
all going good, yes.
Yeah, cool. One other thing, with the coastal pathway stuff, with the pipes, water main, sewer main, and the power cables that are having to be relayed at the same time, does that come out all out of the same budget? for the cycleway?
Yeah,
It does?
is my understanding. I'll double check
Great, no,
it,
that's
but
good.
I'm
That's good.
pretty sure because we have to do it.
In order
It is
of-
the project that is creating the need to adjust the services.
Cool, excellent, excellent. Mike?
Thank you, Lynette. I appreciate you may not know the answer to this, but looking at the High Street one, have we had any further engagement in the south block and the businesses down there?
Not at this stage. And that's actually a couple of years out in the project, so we're looking to do that. That'll be, I think that's looking to start next year.
Okay.
And I'll start that again.
Yeah.
And part of it was we wanted to get on and get built,
Yeah.
so they could actually see what was coming.
Yeah,
And it's a little bit easier.
It's looking
Really
good.
impressive. Yeah.
So further to that, quite a while back, last term, we made a decision to allow the removal of the trees down there for them to put their scaffolding up to repair the facades. And that was on the condition that they were going to replace trees.
In the southern section.
Southern section.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of wondering what's happening there, because obviously the trees haven't been replaced, whether that's because we're going to tie it into any new works or...
I will follow that up and come back to you. I don't know that one, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Righty-go. Anybody else? Anne would like to open the mouth again.
Just wanted to follow up on the trees, if I could, because actually there should be a time frame around that replacement as soon as possible, because it's all affects the environment. So there's no point waiting another 10 years to plant a tree. Pardon?
That's what's happening.
Yes, I know, but I think we should have a time frame over it.
Cool. Anne.
One last
Fire away.
Steve, you mentioned health and school safety there. Where do I find out more about that or something like that? I'm not sure if that was...
That's one of the ones we've got next month, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll be bringing something to you on that for the next update.
In December.
Sounds exciting. Thank you. Thank you.
Good, I think. Thanks, Anne. Jimmy and then Yanni.
Yeah. One more question. Regarding to the project of Amy's in Springsville, thank you. You share with us the complete list, green service in the cycle lane and vegetation, the replanting, etc. But my concern is the community and resident particular concern, because one, Springsville, there's a minor arterial road. The Amy's road, you can see there's a collector road, and so many heavy motor vehicles they pass through, high quick frequency. They still concerned, whether, because before the earthquake that we put on the budget on this for the kind of traffic light, I'm not sure whether.
I'm sorry.
This one. Yeah.
Is it in the report?
The report, yes. I mean, on page 153, last project.
Oh, Amy's. So that's one of the minor safety projects that is being done.
Yeah, it's minor. Yeah, I know. But in the long term, whether when will it be installed?
My understanding is Amy Springs
Yes.
is not on. It's not in the LTP as a standalone project. But my understanding is there is some other minor safety interventions that we are looking to do.
My understanding,
It's not in the LTP as a standalone project.
you were back to the 2015 to 21. They did a yes, but after later
Is it all?
they're gone.
No.
Yes, that's before. It's my concern. Yes.
Thank you, Jimmy. Yanni.
I've found the PT Futures business case. There's 7 intersection improvements that are listed as important in the short term. Do you have a sense of the cost of those in terms of the 5 million? Like, do we know how many could be done?
That's why we've said we'll come back and talk this through at next month's meeting.
So are you costing those now, basically?
We are working through what can be delivered for the money that we've got and what the priority is of the work that's been identified in the PT Futures.
Right, okay. But is it fair just to assume it's those 7 intersection improvements that are being considered?
No. No, we're looking at the whole of the PT business case and all of the projects provided all of the projects identified, and we're looking to say, this is the picture, and this is what we can do for the budget we've got, and this is how we prioritise it.
Right. Have we all done?
Yep.
Mike is happy to move it, and Sam is happy to second it. Do we have any debate?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Thank
I
you.
just wanted to, express my gratitude for the efforts that you're making to actually make this information easier for us to understand, digest, and really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that it's a lot easier for me to follow. Thank you very much. It's good. Right. I'd like to put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, it's now Jimmy, isn't it? Yep. Jimmy's now volunteering to do the closing karakia. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay. Closing karakia. Uruhia, uruhia, uruhia ki te uru, tapu noe o te tane, ke watia, ke mama, te nakau, te tinana, te warua, I te aka, ta kata, kia tina, homie, huie, tai hie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. The meeting is now closed at 10:21. Thank you.